Hello. This is the Out of Bounds podcast. My name is Adam Jabber, and we have a great episode for you with Bjarne Salen. I hope I'm saying his name right, like with the proper accent. I know people just kind of give shit a pass these days, but we're trying to do things correct around here. And Bjarne is honestly like a gem of a human being. I really wasn't sure how the conversation was going to go. Sometimes like you have filmers or photographers or cinematographers on, and it's hard to get a good conversation rolling. But man, this dude is on it off the bat. And I really enjoyed that we were able to just talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. I hope you enjoy it as well. The dude's a legend. Obviously one of the best storytellers in skiing. And as always, I'm honored to have these people on the show because they make it happen. Like, I don't have shit for shit without these people. So thank you to Bjarne for spending the time with me. And let's jump into some stuff. Obviously, before we jump into that stuff, let's just talk about real quick that we are, I think at this point we're wrapped up with Snowbound, right? So we don't have to worry about that right now. The main thing is pushing people to the YouTube channel, which is just Out of Collective on YouTube. And we've got some awesome stuff going on there, including gear reviews. We got all kinds of like little content-y videos coming out throughout the winter. We got a bunch of new projects happening. There's a lot going on, man. I'm tired. That's why I asked Bjarne if he was tired, because I am tired. And we haven't even seen an inch of snow. It is 75 degrees as I'm saying this right now. So it kind of gives you a time frame estimate of where we're at. So before we jump in, we have some ads today, including one that is very relevant to today's episode. Alpine Vans is a sponsor of the Out of Bounds podcast. My friend Todd makes some of the nicest vans in existence on planet Earth. You have probably seen them in the 50 Project because Cody Townsend is rocking one of these vans. It's beautiful. Somebody pulled me over on the side of the street the other day and was like, dude, this is literally the nicest van I've ever seen in my entire life. And I would agree. It is so ridiculous that I'm driving one of these things around, and it's so ridiculous that one of these things exists. There's literally a house in your back seat. That is such a thing that like I would have never considered in my lifetime. But man, is it cool. Full layout in the bed. You can actually like fully sleep in this bed. Like, I'm 6 foot, I can lay out and be comfortable. And honestly, it's probably the best sleep I've had in a year is sleeping in the back of this thing because it's cool, it's comfortable, and I'm obviously going on, and it's a huge fan, and I'm a huge fan. But the point is go to alpinevans.com, learn more about the team, learn more about Mr. Todd, and hit him up, Todd at alpinevans.com. Dude, I'm shocked. Like, you got to get more info. Look into a van build yourself. I'm beside myself about how dope this thing is. So, meticulous bordering on OCD. This is fact, actually. Like, he was like, oh, this one that you're getting, it's got a couple warts here and there. And like, dude, does not have a couple warts. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. So, shows you the standard that these guys are at. So, on to the next here. After you hit up Todd at Alpine Vans, we're going to keep selling you stuff here. In the name of capitalism, we are going to hook you up with a great deal on this year's winter sale from Rumple. Rumple makes the original puffy blanket. They also make some awesome merch. Wow, look at that hat. Kind of want one of those. It's a dope hat. They make scarf. They make little like coverall poncho puffy things. And they work with people that I know and actually really enjoy very much, like Rachel Pohl, who's a past guest on the show and is one of the best artists in the outdoor space. The stuff is beautiful, and they've been able to put her artwork on a blanket, and it's one that you absolutely have to have. Behind me is Brooklyn Bell's signature model. There are a plethora, I guess you would say, of amazing artist collabs that exist, including a Grateful Dead one at rumple.com, and everything's on sale right now. So get your loved ones some Rumple products at rumple.com today. Without further ado, I always say without further ado, and it's always with further ado. Leave us a review on iTunes. Leave us a review on Spotify. Please, please, please help the show grow. Help us keep doing what we're doing. I appreciate it very much. And on to the episode with Mr. Bjarne Salin. Bjarne, tell people a little bit about, first of all, who you are, a little bit about yourself, and then we can kind of roll from there.
Well, I'm Bjarne Salen from Sweden, actually. Originally, I've been living in France for about 7 years, and then I came over to the US 7 years ago now, and I've been making ski films and other documentaries around the world for 13 years now. I started my filming company when I was 20, so that makes sense. I think I'm 33 now. Yeah. So I do that a lot for a living. Obviously, I've done it for many years. Worked with athletes around the world, and I also started a van business where we convert cargo vans to some really beautiful adventure vans. I've done it for many years and started a business with that last year as well. So doing kind of both right now, running a couple of businesses, which is challenging and fun, and then I train a lot to be able to be in the mountains a lot. So that's the short version of me.
Are you tired all the time?
That depends on definition of tired. I enjoy taking care of myself, having boundaries and not work too much and not train too much, and also sleep and hang out with friends, you know?
Yeah. So that's probably a good topic. Like what does setting boundaries look like for you, and how do you manage that? I think that's a thing that so many people, especially in this industry, have a very difficult time managing, because there's so much going on all the time. It feels like there's a new opportunity every 5 minutes, and like it's really hard to not immerse yourself in every single opportunity that comes through the door, and also like make sure that you're giving 100% to the things that you really do care about. So what does setting boundaries look like for you?
Setting boundaries for me is based on my previous years when I haven't had boundaries, and that's been excuse me, that's been making me work way too much and doing more things than I actually want to do in terms of hours, etc. Last year I worked like 90-hour weeks, many weeks in a row, and I mean it's possible for a short time, but it's not sustainable whatsoever. You don't get enough sleep, you don't take care of yourself, because to me, to be able to live a decent lifestyle, you're going to have good sleep and you're going to eat well and you're going to exercise some. I'm not saying everyone needs to exercise as much as I do, but it's like if you have a good balance of that, then you function better as a human, and you can tackle more things in life in general. And the balance for me a year ago was absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
So starting like this summer was pretty good start for me, because I'm trying to not work more than 40 hours a week approximately, maybe sometimes more, sometimes less. And to me, that's been a hard challenge to not say yes to everything, because opportunities arises. And then if you say yes to everything, then you end up not feeling great in the end. I mean, I've been saying yes to everything for many years, and I think you have to do that in the start in the industry, whatever industry you are in, especially if you're self-employed, like starting filming in the mountains when you're young. It's like you can't really, I don't feel like that, you know, like you got to say yes and get a foot in the door and get all the contacts out there. And so I think that's okay to do that. But if you still do that for many, many, many years, like a decade later, and you're not feeling good, then it's like, well, you got to change that, in my opinion, you know. So that's been a good challenge for me, and take care of my body. You know, I'm not 20 anymore. I got a lot of small injuries coming here and there. So if I want to continue being in the mountains as much as I have been, I need to find those boundaries and also take care of myself.
Yeah. Was there a definitive moment like last season where you were like, fuck, this is too much? Like this, I need to like relax and like tone it back a little bit if I want to keep doing this?
Yeah, it was like in February there. It was like we were building vans, and in this new warehouse we have here in Hood River, we have a client we're building a van for, and we're building my van at the same time. And we just kind of, it was a lot of things going on because I was going to hit the road at the same time, started filming, and I just didn't take care of my body. You know, I could feel it. It was like, I didn't sleep well at all. And at that time I was like, you got to step it down an inch, you know. It was okay. I'm not at all changing my mind that I pushed hard for many months or maybe many years at all. But, you know, when you start feeling not so healthy, then not just health, but it's like patient and communication with others. You don't see your friends. You don't talk to your family as much. It's like the only thing you do is work. And to me, that's not why I'm here, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a difficult thing. People always think about like, oh, I want to do this stuff. It's so cool that you do this stuff. It's so like you're living the dream almost, right? But I think managing the relationships in your actual life is one of the hardest things that people can do, especially for athletes, filmer, like anybody trying to make a stamp in this industry. It's like, yeah, you're committing a lot of time. You're away from home a lot, and it's really hard to find a base. And that's one of the things that I'm always like completely shocked by, I think, is that people are able to make that work somehow and still like push whatever this career that they're chasing is.
Yeah, that's not easy at all. I mean, it comes with sacrifices like any career, you know. It's about time. If you want to go somewhere, you have to spend a lot of time, but we need to travel a lot, of course, and that's a very luxury problem, so I'm not complaining about that whatsoever. But
Right.
it does take a lot of time out of your social life, that is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody's always really careful about sounding like they're complaining about stuff, because it's like it is a very cool job, and so many people look at it and like, I would kill to do that kind of job, you know? But at the same time, I think it's important to acknowledge that it's not all fun, and it's a lot of hard work to make this kind of shit happen.
Oh, it's so much. I'm not complaining whatsoever, and
Right.
I shouldn't complain. I'm very lucky to be in the position I am, where I can go around in the world and film and climb these mountains and ski them, and getting paid for it, and then building vans as a business as well. It's like I'm very lucky that I can do that, and I would say that I'm lucky that I was able to be in that position to start it, if that makes sense. Because when I started it, that's like up to me if it's gonna happen or not.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I'm lucky that I am where I am. I'm lucky that I was able to start it, because most people are not, you know. So that's like, and then from there it's just hard fucking work, you know, to be able to get it going. And it comes sacrifices with that in terms of time and things like that we talked about earlier. So definitely, you know, pros and cons. And like any self-employed, it's like something that many people don't think about is that if you are working for a company and you wake up in the morning and you have your coffee and you're feeling good and you don't think about much of work, and you go to work and you clock in, you clock out and come home.
Yeah.
And then you don't think about work. But doing what we do is that work is all the time, 24/7, you know. And that's also very important with the boundary, you know, because if you don't have that boundary and answering emails on Sunday mornings, and then clients think that you're going to answer all those emails all the time, you know. So I think that's a good thing personally with the boundary as well. Like, I'm not going to answer an email on Sunday at 1 p.m. when a van client is asking about something. I'm like, I know this is your spare time, but it's not mine. So let's do it Monday morning, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I think that's really important, because you're right. When you work for yourself, there is, especially when you're trying to make stuff happen and you're working as hard as you possibly can, like, and you have that kind of grit to make that happen, you almost get in the mindset where you're willing to answer emails all the time. You're willing to do the work extra. You're willing to do all this stuff. So I think finding that vein where it's okay to be like, yeah, Sunday I don't answer emails, like, end of story. Like, sorry, like I'm sorry, but not sorry. Right. Like I need this time for me. And that's a thing that every small business owner, whether it's your personal brand or you work for, you know, you own a big company, I think every business owner has that problem of figuring out where the separation is.
Yeah, I think so too. And that separation, the first years for any new business owner, if that is making ski movies or building vans or doing any work when you start your own business, that's, you kind of have to put those hours in for weekends, you know, and get things going. But the thing with the making ski movies and other documentaries is also obviously a big passion. So it's it blends in very often. So, but again, I'm more than happy and grateful for being in this position. That's for sure. But it's a reality. Like, every job is not fun. Sometimes I'm also like, this fucking sucks, you know?
Yeah. That's how it goes. That's actually an interesting point too, is like, because this is something that you're so passionate about and you do it because you love it and you decide to make it a career, Do you have a hard time with that sometimes? Like, or have you just fully accepted the fact that like this is what I chose and I love working in this? But you know, sometimes, because sometimes I feel like, yeah, my life is skiing, my life is talking about skiing, my life is doing this kind of stuff. Sometimes I'm like, I forget to enjoy the actual act that I was so passionate about when I started doing any of this. And I've talked to other people, whether it's an athlete or people in media, that kind of feel this similar thing where it's like it becomes a job. It's hard to bring yourself back to that point where you're like, I really love this, and doing it for just the love of it and no work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in my first 5, 6 years, I feel like it was just fun, and it was my job too. But it was like, oh, it's just fun anyway. You know, it
Yeah.
didn't feel like I was working nearly. But now it's like skiing is still fun and a passion, but it's not at all the same as 10 years ago. You
Right.
know, it's like I'd say 90% of my skiing days I'm in work mode,
Yeah.
or 95% of my days on the mountain. So it's not very often I go up and, ski for fun with my buddies,
Yeah.
or because sometimes I also, very often I go up and just go quick up the mountain and down, and it's like a training session. And,
Yeah.
that is fun, but I wouldn't push it as hard if it wasn't for being fit for me working in the mountains.
Yeah.
I would still go up and enjoy it with friends maybe more, but I would take it a bit more chill. So,
Yeah.
for example, we talked about this. A friend of mine, we were out running the other day here on a good trail run, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna go up and ski on Sunday. It's gonna be shit, but do you want to join?" I'm like, "Nope." I'm like, you know why? I said it's like, my ski season ends in end of June. So
Right.
if I start skiing in start of November, then I'm gonna be burnt out on skiing in May, June for sure. So
Yeah.
for me to, I don't have much FOMO whatsoever if I see people skiing tomorrow. I'm like,
Yeah.
not a problem. It's like I get my wiggles out, but I cannot go skiing a lot right now because then I'll be burnt out.
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing. Like people they love that early season grind. It's especially in New England. It's funny, like Killington opens, they haven't opened yet, obviously, because it's 75 out right now in New England. But normally they open early. And it's like this one white ribbon of death, basically, that like, a few hundred people come and ski on, where it's literally like one, 30-meter wide trail. And you got a million people on it, it feels like, but everybody's like hunting that early season day. And it's always been a little bizarre to me. Like, it's great that people really love it and love to do that much that they want to get out no matter what. But it's like you wait a couple weeks and you can actually go skiing.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you for sure,
Yeah.
but I remember myself in early 20s in Chamonix. It was
Yeah.
like, it's open, let's go,
Yeah.
go, go, and
Yeah.
it's like ski until you can't stand up anymore.
Yeah. And I was honestly the same a couple years ago, where I was like, yeah, like this, I need to do this. I need to go. It's like, I feel like I've gotten so old in the last 5 years. Like I've aged 20 years in the last 5 years, it feels like, where
Yeah.
like now I'm salty about everything, and I'm kind of becoming a curmudgeon almost, where I just like, it's just like, wait, like it'll happen. It'll just happen.
No, I think that's just how we are when we just develop as humans.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I feel you the same on that one for sure.
Let me ask you then about the van business, because I think that's an important one to touch on. Obviously, why did you decide that you wanted to get into building vans? I have a couple friends that do this on the side, and obviously we have Alpine Vans as a sponsor of the show as well. But like, tell me a little bit about why you get into it, because like I've looked at my friends build vans, I've looked at Todd build vans, and it stresses me the fuck out. So why would you want to get into this business, and what was like the switch that turned where you're like, this is a thing that I actually want to do?
What stresses you out though?
There's just so much going on. You're putting a house in a car. You know what I mean? It's like you're literally taking a house and you're stuffing it into a van. That's what stresses me out.
Yeah, it's like I feel like running a van business is running five small businesses in
That's
one.
what I mean. Like there's so many things.
It's no, so why I got into it. I always enjoyed traveling a lot, and doing it for work. Filming is a huge thing to me that's been changing my life, and I'm so grateful for being able to do that. And then when I came to North America, it was a lot of things in North America that you can access by having a van. And it's a bit different because before I was, traveling all around the world to all these different places, but you didn't need a van for that at all. And then I came to North America, and I always, looked into tiny houses and vans and stuff. And then I just decided, even before I started filming the 50 project, I was like, I'm gonna build a van just for fun. So I bought an old Chevy Express passenger van from Southern California, and I drove it all up to Northern California, where I lived at that time, and decided to convert it. And it was just fun. I looked at videos, how to do things, and I feel like the creative side of me it's always been a big part of me. So I designed the whole van in my head. I have this ability in my head that I can design every little inch in my head, and then after that put it into reality, basically, right? And so I built this van, and then I started filming more and more in North America, and then I used it all winter. Then I sold it and made another one, and then I kind of did that 4 years in a row, where I built the van, built it nicer, more functions in it, and I was just like, why not start a side business and see how it goes? Let's give it a try for a year, and then I can pull out if I want, because it's not that much of a commitment the first year. And then I was trying a whole year, and I was like, well, we have a good team, we have a warehouse, it's going really well. People love our vans because they're very different from the average factory van out there, and that's the kind of people I want to work with too. So we decided to continue, and now it's full on. We started building another couple of vans 2 weeks ago that are finished in mid-January. They're both already sold, actually, and then we have some more clients and building our own vans. So that's kind of how I got into it, by living in them too, because I think creating a house is easier for people because they lived in house, so they can refer to their own experiences. But then I hear some people starting van business and they never lived in a van, and I'm like, really? Like, not gonna say you're doing anything wrong, but good luck finding out what works and what doesn't work, buddy. You got to spend the time out there. It's the same with developing ski gear or mountaineering equipment.
Yeah.
The people who are doing that are the people that are working with it, and they're out hundreds of days a year, because you can't have someone who skis a week a year to develop a new jacket. Like,
right.
It's kind of a waste. So same with van business. I think that if you've been spending a lot of time in the vans, then you'll have a good idea what works and what doesn't work, and all these functionalities you can put in there. And so that's what's been helping us to be able to create these vans and design them. I'm literally designing them from my own experience, and that's it. And then I get my own ideas and others' ideas, and then we create our own. So that's kind of how it all started.
How much variance is there from like van to van? Like, a customer comes to you, they're like, I want this. How much variance is there from build to build when you're making these things? And have people come to you with these ideas that they want in their van that are just like not feasible or too far fetched to make happen? Like, what? Because I don't even know how to approach it, right? Like you said, like, I know how to approach a house because I've lived in a house. Like, I have this van sitting in our parking lot right now, and I'm like, I would have never thought about any of the things that they put in this. I would have never considered that you need any of these items. Like, you need to drain the water. There's a gray tank. There's solar to deal with. Like, there's so many things that you just don't consider. And even spacing wise, like, to make every inch count is so bizarre to me. So I guess, how much variance is there? And like, do people come to you with stuff that you're just like, this is not going to happen?
It does, and I'm completely honest with them. It's like, very often it's like, I want this, I want that, I want this and this. I'm like, well, it sounds like you need two vans.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just honest with them too. It's and they trust me. That's the good thing, I feel. I'm not taking on any client just like in 5 minutes. We have conversations, and I talk with them, and we come up with these ideas together. And I'm honest with them. I'm like, if there are things that you want in there and I like them, I say that they are going to work or not based on my own experience. But then someone says another idea, and I'm like, that is not going to work because of this and this. I'm not just saying no, I'm saying no because of this, and give them a reason, because otherwise it's kind of, well, why doesn't he want that, you know? So sometimes they come with ideas that are crazy, and sometimes they come with ideas that are good. And some people will just be like, we want exactly the van that you build that year, this one. And I'm like, okay, cool, not a problem. So it's a bit different. Some people want to be part of the design, and some people don't, you know?
Yeah. Is it more exciting to you as a builder and as a designer, one way or the other? Like, if somebody wants what you designed, I imagine there's like this, like the same van that you were running, I imagine that there is this like almost pride that you designed something that somebody really wants. But I also imagine that like there's a certain level of creativity that goes into a fresh design. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So to me, that's a fine balance, because if someone comes to me, so right now we're doing 2 vans that are identical.
Yeah.
And they have some new features in them, but they are like 100% identical. So that's obviously way easier, and I see why big van companies only stick to their models, and because it cuts down the time to like you cannot even compare it, you know. Right. So I see that in terms of hours and business, it's like way more efficient and affordable. Yeah. So I see why. I like working with clients sometimes if they're not too picky, because it's fun to create something special for them and something that's very unique. We worked on this together, and that can be a pain in the ass if the client is just a lot of work, you know, and like talking to you all the time about this and this and that. And I understand them too, because it's a big passion for them, right? So it's like, and for me to then answer that makes them even more fired up. So the good thing with that is that I can be more creative and we can come up with new ideas. The only downside is that, you know, it's just going to take more time and cost the client more money, because it's going to be 100% custom van, you know, so it's extremely time consuming to do it. So it has its both pros and cons, I think.
Yeah. I think dealing with the picky customers and the like the people that are very specific and neurotic about what they want, I think is, on one hand, you get it, right? Because it's like, it is an expensive thing. It's an investment, whatever. But there's like, I always wonder if those people on that side of things are considering the other person on the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, I work in a ski shop a lot. Like, a lot of like mounting points was a thing I complain about all the time to people, because people are just insane about where they want stuff. And like, I've had people come in and want to mount stuff 3-4 times. And this is on a ski, mind you, like not even going into the detail of a van. And it drives me insane. You're just like, go ski, like go and use it and try it, and then you got to just use it and get used to it. It can't just, everything can't be what it was before, and everything can't be what it is in your head. And that's a difficult thing to deal with sometimes, is like figuring out those people and how to make them happy, and how to not lose money by spending hours upon hours and upon like hours making this thing work for them.
No, you're totally right. So imagine then an entire house that's going to fit into a van.
Yeah.
It's totally bananas. But I also feel like, I think if I was 22 and started this business, I would just say yes, and answer emails 24/7 and make it work. But now I'm like, it's not, I have a life on the side. If a customer is texting me on Saturday night because they fired up because they watched the video and be like, we want this in our new van, and I just started talking with them or something, I obviously not going to respond till Monday, It's like, I'm sorry, buddy. Like, but then, like you said, it's a fine balance, it's like, you don't want to lose the customer, and then on the flip side, I'm like, I'm also like, need to have my boundaries too. But then I was emailing with some clients the other week, and I got a bit frustrated, and I was like, well, Bjarne, they're spending a lot of money on this van, so that's also why they want to know about these 2 inches. And I was like, if I was gonna spend that much money on a house or a van, I would also like to have a lot of question answered. So I try to put myself in their shoes
Yeah.
as much as I can to like understand their thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. It's funny you mentioned that. Like, I got a second phone like a few months ago. I don't know where the second one is, but I got a second phone because people were texting me about ski stuff like
Oh, really?
3 a.m. on a Friday night, like hammered, texting me about, oh, this ski is this ski is that, this boot, like I need this bike. I'm thinking about this build kit. I'm thinking about this thing. And after a certain point, I was like, fuck this shit. Like, I can't even see it, because if I see it, like the part of me that's like, oh, I need to answer is like stressed and needs to like answer it. So like I have a phone that stays in my car when I get home, and I have a phone that like I can like have my friends and like all the people in my life like in. And I think it makes life a little more confusing sometimes, and it makes it a little more but it's worth the extra money per month to me in my sanity to make it work that way.
I think that's smart to have that boundary. I think that's clever.
Yeah. So far it's been okay. It is confusing, and I actually end up answering the work phone less often than I was expecting, but you know, it is what it is. It's, I guess, to some extent to be expected. So, let me ask you about the 50 project. Obviously that's where people I feel like know you the best from, especially as of late. Like I think you do a great job, and Cody does a great job of like, you're both characters in it, right? Like people feel attached to the both of you because of the dialogue back and forth, because of you guys being partners in the backcountry and doing this whole thing. What is the experience been like for you, and how did you get involved with Cody in the first place?
Well, how I got involved, I guess we can start with then. It's I was helping to film this eclipse film that Salomon did in Svalbard. When we were filming this photographer, Ruben Krabbe, who was capturing this amazing photo, and I was part of filming that on that trip, helping out. And Cody was on that trip, and that's the first time I met him. And we were just like starting to be buddies on the trip, the same as the other athletes. That's just how it is on those trips, you know. And then after that, I came to visit him a couple of times in Tahoe just to ski for fun.
Yeah.
Because I like to do that. I don't like to only have working buddies. It's like also fun to ski on the side with no cameras and just have fun.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then he asked me about this project, and it was funny because 3 months prior to the project, which was now, what is that, like 4 or 5 years ago now, when he asked me about this, I decided I want to see more in North America. You know, I'm like, I don't want to film in one spot only. I haven't been in North America that much. I'd like to see it more. I should combine that with filming, I felt. And then a couple of months later, he called me, and I was like, yeah, sounds great. Let's do it. And he was like, yeah, no, you know, I have this project. I'm like, dude, that sounds like a big project. Like, I don't know all these mountains whatsoever, but you know, I'm in. That sounds great. Let's do it. And then we were like, yeah, 2 to 3 years, you know, we could probably pull it off, you know, like.
Guess not.
Forget it.
Yeah.
4 years later, like we have like 7 left, and it's like we have like, I don't know, maybe we never finish it. Maybe we finish it in 2-3 years, or maybe never. So maybe 10 years. I don't know, but it's that's kind of how we met, you know. Yeah.
How many you said is left? 7 are left?
Mm-hmm.
That's not that many. Like, is there motivation to like actually like finish this thing in any pace? Like, it's funny, Cody actually talked about it, I feel like a few weeks ago, like on Instagram or Twitter or something like that, talking about how the time frame has changed so much. Is there any motivation for either of you to be like, let's just wrap this thing up?
I think there is motivation to continue, of course, because that's what we're going to do. And but it's also developed to this thing where we have developed the films to not just like tiny episodes. It's more involvement in how to make this of a story and build it up more. And we're trying to change it and bring other people on board. And it become way bigger and better than both Cody and I thought from the start, I think. And I mean, it was his idea, so it was like he had this vision, and I think it's just been better than his vision, I think.
Yeah.
It sounds like, because it's been growing so much, and it's a huge project. It's amazing. And so I think that I don't think we are worried about we have to do these episodes. These lines. It's like we do what we can, and then we plan for it, and we do our best. And if we manage to do that peak that year, great. If we don't, we try next year and we see how that feels. I don't think there's any pressure on us to finish the 50.
Yeah.
There is pressure on making episodes. If you make a whole new season contracts with sponsors left and right, then we have pressure to make episodes. But that's not, I mean, of course, that's tricky, but it's easier to make episodes than tick these lines off, because the 7 that are left are some of the harder ones, which means they take a lot of time. We're not going to just rock up to one of the trickier ones and then run it up and ski it down. We might spend a month to see conditions and make sure that if snow falls down or there are slough coming, we know where that slough is going. And like, we're not going to take those risks of just spending that little time there and just run up. And so I think that's been a huge thing to realize too, that we do what we can this season, and then we assess after and see how we feel. If the end of the season and Cody's like, you know what, Bjarne, at the end of the season, let's say we get 2 or 3 or 4 extra in here,
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what, let's call it. I'm like, right, cool, high five, buddy. That was fucking sick.
Yeah.
We don't have to have those 50. I think both of us would be very excited if we managed to do it. But I mean, I don't want to sit in a sofa and be like, yeah, we're going to do it, because then you don't even have to go. I think we just have to go and try.
Fischer Skis is a sponsor of the Out of Bounds podcast. They've been one of our best sponsors, one of our longest running partners. And I am every year, I'm more and more psyched to get involved with these people and keep working with them and keep exploring the possibilities of working with a brand, and also keep exploring my just product. I love talking about product. I'm sure people have heard this. I'm sure people have watched a review or two on the YouTube. Like, I'm a product nerd. It's what my background is. It's what I care about. And this stuff is about as nice of a product as can possibly exist. And I'm glad people are not sleeping on the product anymore. The stuff has gotten so good. It's consumable now. Like, people understand what the product is. They're getting the message, and they're getting that skiing Fischer shit is a dope thing to do. So get yourself a pair of new Rangers. I actually am going to talk a little bit about the Fischer Hannibal, because it's probably getting into touring season, I hope, by this point. A couple weeks out. Like, it's 75 degrees outside right now, and I'm not happy about that. But the Fischer Hannibal is, I mean, it's a phenomenal ski. Lightweight, skis exceptionally well. And man, like, that's my go-to for a touring ski. It's strong enough. Like, I'm 220 pounds. Like, it's strong enough for me to ski on in just about any type of condition, but it's fun. It's exciting. Like, it's actually a ski. It's a touring ski that you actually want to ski on. So check out the Hannibal 96 or 106. Either way, just obviously the shapes are actually a little bit different. Maybe that's not obvious. The shapes are a little bit different depending on the width that you go with. Obviously, they've got the really, again, maybe not obvious, but they have these really nice little skin notches. And as I said before, the product is exceptional. So fischersports.com, check that stuff out. If you have gear questions, please reach out to me. Just hit me up either on email, adam@outofpodcast.com, or on the DMs, because I love to help people out with their gear. And I promise I'm going to try to put you in Fischer stuff first, but if I can't, I'm happy to answer any and all questions. Next, we have our friends at Deuter. It's Deuter from Hans Deuter, not Deuter, okay? Deuter makes the best backpacks in the world, on planet Earth, point blank, end of conversation, no more talking about it. It is, they're just the best. Especially this new Freeride Pro 34 Plus backpack that I just got. We've actually, X had a different one, so I've been playing with it quite a bit, actually, and I had to get myself one. Multiple ways to carry your skis, your ice axe, your snowboard, your pocketbook, whatever you want. Like, you can carry anything in this pack. It's extremely comfortable. It spreads out the weight on the pack really, really well. It's accessible from the top. It is tons of different pockets. I'm a huge fan. So go to Deuter, DEUTER.com and check out a new bag. I mean, whether it's like the travel stuff or it's a ski pack like this, or it's a hip pack, hiking pack, whatever, Deuter makes the best stuff, point blank. And I think anybody would tell you that. And I hope that you guys will check out their stuff. Deuter.com. Thank you very much. And back to the episode. What has been the most challenging aspect for you? Not just obviously athletically, like it's very difficult and there's a lot to it. And, you know, as a mountaineer, there's so many details involved with doing stuff like this, but I'm more interested in, as a storyteller and as a filmer, like what has been the most difficult part about doing this project for you so far?
Personally, I don't feel climbing or skiing the mountains have been the hardest thing. And I'm not saying that to sound like a I don't know how to express myself in English, but like an idiot. But it's like some of these mountains are pretty easy to do. You know, it's like they are, you know, and a day of work going up, skiing down, and that's it. And some of the mountains are really difficult and really dangerous. And so the hardest part hasn't been to the physical part has not been hardest. It's always tricky to find good storytelling and good filming when I'm at the same time trying to think about safety, where we at, snowpack, and okay, that person is there, we can get a shot over there. Oh no, we can't because there's a rock over there that might fall on us, and that has more of a convex over there, so I should not go there. Like my mind like goes like that all the time.
Yeah.
And I think as a team we all do that, but maybe I'm doing it a bit extra quietly because I have all these filming angles I'm also thinking about, and that's why it's good. Cody and I worked a lot together, so you know, if I think too much about that, he can be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't go there because of that. And I'm like, oh yeah, thanks, buddy. I didn't even think about that because, you know, because of this and this. And he's like, oh yeah, totally. So that's always tricky, I think, finding that balance of climbing, skiing, trying to get good angles, and okay, is the audio good? Do we have batteries? Oh no, that audio is going to die in 2 hours. We got to start charge that in 1 hour. And then I got to make sure I have batteries that are not dying on the top when we get the crucial moment. And it's like, I guess it's more nature for me now. But if I start writing you a list right now, it's going to be huge of things to think about.
Right.
But to me, it's more like second nature, where it's just kind of, I've done it for many years. I can always forget something. I mean, we are humans. We fuck up. But I've done it for so many years. So it's like, it's kind of in there. But something that has been tricky for me has been to not have any routine whatsoever. It's like, that's something that people maybe don't think about. But I'm like, imagine yourself going on a journey and you're going to work every day and you don't know how the next day is going to look like. Like, you're not going to have any routine. You're not going to be able to chat with friends as much. You're not going to be able to keep up business because you don't know when you can have meetings or do emails. And, you know, talking to my family back home in Sweden, I can only do that in the mornings, and then keep in touch with friends. And that kind of routine has been a big challenge for me personally. It's been very hard without knowing what's going to happen the next week and just go with the flow. And I think I'm an easygoing person in many ways. That's what people have been telling me, and that's been helping me to be able to do this.
Yeah.
But that's been a struggle for sure. Like I talked to, you know, the team with it too. It's like that's not been the easiest thing for me to always say yes and be on the road for these months and not have any routine whatsoever. Forget the yoga meditation in the morning and do your coffee routine. Like, out of the window for 4 months and then come back to your normal life after.
That part to me is probably the most stressful aspect of things, right? Because you're just doing, like, you're just acting, right? Like, you're just going through the motions of like doing whatever is in front of you. And I think there's a really beautiful part about that, because you are just like living in the moment. You're doing whatever, like it's literally the definition of living in the moment, because you have no routine, no choice, no anything. Like it is, you're taking what life gives you. But that's also a thing that like nobody gets to experience in their life. Like there's a very, very small fraction of the world that gets to experience that kind of existence.
Totally. I'm always about, I always have the philosophy of, live in the moment and take things in where you are right now in the universe, and it's going to be beautiful. And some people definitely agree, and then they are like, I did that for a month and that was so cool. Actually, it was 3 weeks, Bjarne. It helped my life. And I'm like, awesome, do it for 4 months and see how you feel, buddy. Like it's a very good challenge, so to speak, if that makes sense. And it's that's probably been, and that's something I'm not like, I can say it in an interview podcast, you and I chatting, we can talk about it so people understand the backstory of it, so that's been probably the hardest thing, to not have any routine or not knowing what's going to happen the next week for, months.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll jump back kind of to some 50 stuff in a second here, but like I do want to talk to you about, because you mentioned before we even got on like actually recording, about doing yoga, meditation, like this kind of stuff. Like what benefit do you think that stuff brings you in your life, specifically the meditation aspect of it? Because I've kind of been diving into it a little bit more lately, and listening to podcasts talking about the benefits of it and the different types, and like how it benefits your brain and the actual like sciences behind it, I guess. And I'm still kind of processing some of the things that people find important about it. So I'm wondering what you find beneficial in doing like a morning meditation routine. Like what does it give you?
First, I didn't realize what it gave me. I started meditating just 5-10 minutes for some years ago, and I added on 1 minute only every Monday. So I started 5 minutes to just get into it, and next week 6 minutes, and then I did that for like many weeks, and then I was suddenly meditating for more than half an hour, every morning, and I didn't feel that difference. I was like, I gotta give it a half year or a year try, but then I stopped, and I was like, holy moly, that was not good. And I was like, oh damn, that was so big difference. So I've been bad at taking that time the last couple of years, but I recently started again, and it helps me with frustration, or it helps me with patience. It helps me with be even more present with people. And it helps me with so many, like it helps me with communication, with relationships. It helps me with a lot of things in life, I feel. I don't see it straight away, and I don't think it's very easy to feel the difference maybe the first month or two, but just continue to do it, and then it makes me it makes a huge difference. I don't think I feel the difference when it comes to training or being in the mountains to me, but meditation and yoga helps me a lot to, I'd say, like, maybe it sounds a bit cheesy, but cheeky or cheesy? What do you say in America?
Cheesy. Cheeky is like almost like you're being a dick. Like
cheesy
is like romanticized almost,
Yeah, exactly. So that's a bit how I feel. It's like, it actually helps me be a better person in everyday life when it comes to those things, I feel.
Yeah. One of my closest friends like started getting into this kind of stuff. He actually like quit his job, moved on the road, like lived out of his car for a year and a half or something like this. And he came back and he's like, oh, I've been meditating every day, been doing all this stuff. And like, sometimes I'm like, oh, this dude's gone off the deep end, right? Like he's far into like himself and like his own head and all this shit. But the meditation aspect of it, like I'll see him and I'll watch him take the space and the routine of this thing. And it has very much actually changed the way that he engages with other people too. And I think just the small things in his tendencies, like it almost seems like it's a good reset. It's like when I wake up I act like a crazy person almost, right? Like I do whatever my first thing is, but like almost always the second thing I do every single day is get a cup of coffee, right? Like I have to. If I don't and I'm on the road and I'm doing whatever, I do not function for the first 3 hours of the day. Like it feels like it takes so much longer for me to actually get in that routine. And he used to be like this too. And the meditation aspect of it is almost, it seems like that's replaced that for him, you know?
Yeah, I can see that, you know.
Yeah.
I think everyone's got different positive things happening from meditation towards them, and I can totally see that that could be a good routine to start with the morning with some meditation, and not have the coffee start your brain, or your
Yeah.
not have the coffee start your day. Like, have yourself do that. That's something else. I like to work on personal stuff, and that's one of the things I'm working on right now, is to have me start my day and my creativity, and not the coffee straight away.
Yeah. It's a difficult thing.
I mean, I live in Oregon. We love our coffee. We talk about coffee all the time here. Come on, it's like coffee roasters left and right.
I'm surprised you haven't started a coffee brand yet. Like, it makes sense. That would have been a lot easier, I feel like, than starting
wait a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You're going to get finished with the 50 project, and then that's going to be the next venture, I feel like. It's funny. You're right, though. Like, that is how it's either I start my day with my phone way too often, or I start my day with coffee way too often. And you're right. Like, you're not starting your day. Like, that thing, it's not even the coffee itself that's the problem for me ever. It's the fact that, like, it is my start. Like, it's the alarm clock of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's also a nice ritual. It's a nice routine. You know,
nice.
Like many people that stop coffee, they don't miss. I mean, I'm drinking coffee now. It's great. You know, I like the taste of coffee. But like many people, when they stop coffee, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, some friends, and it was like, I don't miss the coffee flavor, or maybe feeling that I have a lot of energy after a coffee. It's more that they miss that routine of having a coffee with a friend, or in the morning sit there with a cup of coffee and look out the window and all that. You know, so I can see that. I'm not saying everyone needs to stop coffee. Of course, I mean, I enjoy my coffee a lot. You know.
No, that's complete. It's almost like sacrilege, like to talk like that. So I don't think that's not where I'm going with it either. It's funny though. People do have almost the same attachment to alcohol sometimes, right? Like, where they don't, and like people don't necessarily. Some people obviously very different in their relationships, very toxic with alcohol, and I'd actually probably argue that's a lot of the people out there have a toxic relationship with it. But I think people have that routine. They want to go skiing and then have a beer. They want to go do, like, it's the routine. It's like the method in which they're going to, it's like it signifies something, the end of a day, like the closure of an agreement, the finality of something is almost why people drink in a lot of cases too. And I think especially like outdoor athletes, you see it all the time. It's like everybody ends up back at the van, they have a beer, they move on with their day, right? Like or you meet at the bar after a day of skiing. Like, that's a thing in this industry because it's like culminating the closure of things in some ways.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think that the industry is, I mean, pushing too much towards that kind of stuff sometimes.
100%.
When you see that, I think that there are other things you can do, and without having a beer every day, like
100%.
I mean, I have pretty strong opinions about that kind of stuff.
I would love to hear them. I mean, honestly, because I struggle with it a lot, right? Like, I go 3, 4, 5 months without drinking sometimes, like, and I feel amazing. And then I have a few and I'm like, oh, it's kind of nice. And then I realize that, like, I'm back in the routine of like having really a few, you know, and it makes a big difference. And it's really interesting to see. There was a study that was done recently talking about, like, it takes 61 days, something like that, for alcohol to actually like fully leave your system, to clean out of your body. Like, that's a crazy thing to me, that something can affect you that much for that long.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm not going to go into numbers and statistics and all that, because I haven't studied it, so I don't know all those numbers, because there's probably someone listening here and be like, okay, I'm going to hear what they say now, then I'm gonna go to internet and say that they said this and this, because people don't want to do it in person anymore. They write things online instead.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
But what I feel about that is that I talked to my brother about it. He's an extremely good athlete, and he works as an international mountain guide in Chamonix in France, and very, very smart in many ways and take care of his body. And now he's in med school, and he started reading more and more about alcohol, like it kills so many people in the world. It's absolutely nuts that we even having it being advertised like that, like
Yeah.
cigarettes many years ago. But it's like, I mean, I enjoy my bourbon,
Right.
on a Friday, Saturday night, have a bit of bourbon, amazing. But personally, I don't drink Monday to Friday anymore, and I only allow it a little bit in the weekend. I've never been a party person, so it hasn't been a big step for me.
Yeah.
Like if someone told me we're not going to drink for a year, I'd be like, hey, I don't care.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about that, I guess. And another routine, by the way, is that I don't do any social media Friday night to Monday morning.
What?
That's another one. Yeah, no, it's great.
Dang.
Just move the app away somewhere else. Don't click on it
Wow.
Friday evening to Monday morning, and it's been so good. Like I recommend that to everyone. It's so cool because then you're like opening up Instagram or something on Monday. You're like, oh, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, like resets it.
I find myself often be like, check something on the phone, and then unconsciously I'm opening a social media app. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? That's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
waste
yeah,
of
yeah.
life. Like, why am I doing that? So I mean, I'm not saying it's from everyone. I'm not saying, I mean, I'm not perfect in any way. I'm just saying that that's definitely really good to try.
That takes a lot of discipline, man. I can't tell you how many times I go to look something up on my phone, like, and I end up opening social, like, and then my like 30-second quick Google search turns into me scrolling for 5 minutes. Like, it's just,
Right?
that's how it is. Especially like you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to build a business. It's like you're afraid to miss something, right? Like you're afraid something's gonna happen, you're not gonna know about it. Especially like in media, it's like I'm like trying to be like whatever the pulse is, I'm trying to find that pulse. So it's hard because you're always searching for shit to talk about. You're always searching for stuff. But I actually really like the idea of like Friday through Sunday, like you just cut it out. Like it actually probably would benefit me a ton to do something like that. But I don't know if I'm disciplined enough.
Well, try it.
Yeah.
I had a I had a dinner with a buddy of mine on Thursday last week. I think it was. We just had dinner together, and we talked about that. So he was going to try it as well this
Yeah.
weekend. So I actually texted him like an hour ago and be like, "How was your weekend without social media?" So we'll see what he said. I haven't turned my phone; it's on flight mode now when we talk. But it's gonna. I'm curious to see.
Yeah.
It's it's like social media is great in many ways, and I use it for work all the time.
Right.
If it wasn't for that, I would probably just have my close friends on there and share some stuff. But it's amazing in so many ways, but it's also a better life without it, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll dabble into that as well. And yeah, I agree. I agree with a lot of what you said there. I think it's important. I think people should, and myself included. Like I was looking at my screen time on travel days, and I'm like, this is fucked. Like to be on your phone for 10 hours on a travel day because you're sitting in the airport is completely fun. You look at that time and you're like, where was I? Like, what did I
Yeah.
do during that time frame? Like, I don't even know what happened to it. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of that stuff that gets really romanticized in the industry, and whether it's alcohol or whether it's social or any of these things, like it's just, it does get romanticized, and that's part of the industry, and it has been part of the industry for a long time. But I think we are starting to see this shift, especially on the alcohol side, where people are like, they're trying to not drink. Like people are doing, like it seems like more people, and you can tell me if you've seen this as well, are trying to make a conscious effort to be aware of their alcohol consumption, to be aware of the way that their relationship is with drinking, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. I think there are a lot of other things we can do to if we have to calm down after a work day or if it's something else. I think there are many different things we can do to feel that calmness or something.
Yeah.
It's up to any individual, I think, whatever works for them. But if you feel like you need a drink every day to calm down, to
Yeah.
me that's a huge indication that we might need to have a chat. Like
Yeah.
if that's my close friend, I would probably try to talk to that person and just be like, how do you feel about this? Have you
Yeah.
like you thought about that? Or But then like opening up a beer after a good day and you kind of warm and go to the
Right.
bar and have a beer, like that's pretty sweet, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying I don't do it. Of course not.
Yeah. It's a hard balance to find. Like that's one of the things that like I think people really struggle with because it is an addictive thing and like people get used to it. But I'll tell you what, like at least from my personal experience, like when I stop for a long period of time, I feel so much. I didn't realize how shitty I was feeling, I guess is the
Yeah,
biggest thing, right? It's like you don't even
yeah,
know, like meditation, like you don't even know what you're missing until you stop doing it. And then I stopped doing it and I'm like, holy shit. Like I feel less swollen. My face doesn't feel like as bloat. Like everything changes. Even if you're not like, it's not like I was drinking a lot. I was hardly drinking, but like it made a difference in the way I felt almost like within the first month.
totally agree. That's probably the big reason why I don't do it. I just sleep better, and I
Yeah.
need to sleep to be able to function and do everything I like to do. So if I don't get sleep, then everything else doesn't work. So for me to get sleep, I don't have that extra beer or that glass of wine on Wednesday too often at all anymore, and I just sleep better, and then I can function more. So also, like if I'm gonna go for a long run the next morning, like we did here on Sunday last week, and also this week actually, like a long trail run. Of course, I'm not gonna have something to drink the night before if I'm gonna run
Yeah.
for 2-3 hours the next morning. It's like I can feel that difference very much if I have a drink or two, or if I don't, if I exercise a lot the next day.
Yeah.
But some people can still exercise, and good for them. I guess I'm too sensitive. I'm kind of a sensitive dude when it comes to a lot of things. So that's stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I feel that wholeheartedly. It's like it feels like things affect me a lot more than, and I'm watching it affect people less. You know, they're doing the same thing or more, and I'm like, I don't know how you function. You know, like I shut down. It's the
Yeah, I'm,
next.
I'm impressed. I think I'm like, wow, how can you do that? That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. It's difficult, but yeah, it is impressive to see people do that kind of shit and function and exist like that. But um, anyway, one of the last things I want to ask you about the 50 is the storytelling aspect of it. I talked to Nikolai Schirmer a few weeks ago, who I think is like pound for pound one of the best storytellers in skiing. Like I think that's what he does better than anything else, right? Like is put out these films and these stories where he tells these like it's the story more than the skiing. And I think that's the same reason that people have attached themselves so much to the 50. It's not about the skiing. It's not about the lines. It's about the way that watching you guys go through the motions makes them feel and makes them feel attached to you as people. I think that like sells the whole thing, so to speak. So was that conscious? Is it just yours? Like, is it just the style that you guys decided to shoot this in? Is it the style that you decided to make this work in? I really appreciate it, and I think that that's been one of the highlights of this whole project, and the reason that it's been so successful to me is obviously it's hard, it's a challenge. Like without that, would not be relevant because anybody can go out and do whatever. But I think the athletic feat mixed with the way that you're telling the story makes it so relatable to people. So how did you decide that this was the route that you guys were going to go?
I think it's been developing more and more,
Okay.
but I also think that um like think about it. If you do a film with this, if you do a project with this many episodes and it's only about
Mm.
oh, we went here and we skinned up here and then we turned around and then we tried it and it was sick and we got it.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay. Yeah.
let's do 60 episodes of those and see if people like it. Like I doubt it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. So it's like Cody's very good at like right now we actually write out the episodes a little bit before.
Yeah.
Not exactly, of course, because you can't write whatever you're gonna do when you climb a mountain. But in terms of the story, we're trying to, he's very good at writing things down. He's got family that are like into journalism and things like that. So he's kind of having it in his blood a little bit, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then we kind of talk about it together, how we can make it better from our thoughts, and it's just more challenging and it's more fun. It's more giving. Because to me, if someone asked me, "Do you want to come and film 50 peaks in Europe?" There is no story. We're just gonna climb and ski them and show how cool we are. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so interesting to go into different stories that are still connected to the mountains. And I think, to me, making a film is okay. So to me, make a film with no story, like most people can do it these days. You
Yeah.
either do it with your phone, or you buy a cheap camera these days that have good enough quality to put on YouTube. Like, that's actually something that most people can do, because most people have a phone,
Yeah.
which you can film pretty good quality on
For
these
sure.
days. So that's something that most people can do, I think, in the world. And uh, that's pretty easy to make a film. But to make a film with a story, you got to have some knowledge and passion, and you got to kind of try different things. And that's really, really hard to make a film with a good story. Like,
Yeah.
that is something that most filmmakers are struggling with, because if you don't have a good story, it's just not gonna be as good of a film. Like,
Mm.
I think if you look at the film festival and what was in the ski films or adventure movie festivals like 15 years ago, it was like the coolest, best cinematography, and they didn't think so much about story, in my opinion.
For sure.
These days, it's like, if you don't have a story and you try to make a film, it's not going to go down well if it doesn't have a good story, because it's very easy to make a film with some cool ski shots.
Totally.
It's not that hard. So to make a good story is something we're working on a lot, and then try to make it as good as possible. And I think a film can be, it changes 3 times. You make the story and it changes 3 times. The first time is when you're planning your film and you are making the story up a little bit in the start, and you're like, this is where the story is gonna go, and that's the first step of a change in the story, because we're starting it, right?
Right.
And the second one is when you're actually out there filming, because it's not going to go exactly what you think. So then the story goes a little bit, then the film is changing a little bit again, all right? And then when you're in the editing room, then it can change again. So I think you, as a filmmaker, making stories like that, I think we are very open to all those 3 steps. I think it's important.
Yep.
Kind of stick to it because you have a good plan, but also be open to wherever that comes, right?
Yeah.
I think that's been making the 50 very popular, and people want to follow it. But so I think that's one thing. The other thing is that we're just very human, and we don't make fake things
Right.
all the time and make it, oh, we don't want to show that because it makes me look weak. Like, of course we're going to show that, because the audience going to love that.
Part.
They feel like way more connected, like, it's like funny when athletes, sometimes I've been filming for many years, like, no, I don't want them to film, don't film this, Bjarne, I don't want them to see me be bad at this. I'm like, what? Like, don't you want to be human and have a film that people are going to like? Like, to me, that's like a no-brainer,
Yeah, it's funny. So like, there are a couple sides. Yes, yes to everything you said. It's funny. Like, this is basically the conversation I had with Nico a few weeks ago or whatever. And I think it's 100% true. I think the storytelling makes everything, and being authentic and being real makes everything. But there is a person that I actually wanted to ask you about, who I think nobody knows anything about, and has made a career after just being seen as like this perfect, almost like ghost-like figure, and Seth Morrison. It seems like everything he does is the way he is, and is the way he exists, and like he doesn't give a shit if anybody knows anything about him as a human. It seems like he would actually rather people don't know anything as a human. What, you worked with him 2011, you worked with him on The Ordinary Skier, right? Like, a little bit at least. What is he actually like? Can I ask you that? What is it like to actually talk to that guy and be around that guy? Because I'm trying to get this fucking guy on the show, and like, he answers me at least, which I feel like is a huge win, but he's like, nah, fuck that, nothing to talk about. So what is he like?
I haven't spent that much time with Seth, but definitely some, a little bit in Chamonix a couple of times, and I think he's just like a quiet and nice guy, the little I know.
Yeah.
I haven't been on like big expeditions with him or like that. And also in 2011, that's like many years ago, I was
Yeah.
just like, holy shit, I get to film with these guys. Wow.
Yeah.
You know? So, but now, I, I remember I was skiing in Chamonix, France for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And we were
Yeah.
up on, I give the midi on the top there and it's like hard crew, you know, gonna drop into something. And
Yeah.
I see him there and he's a bit quiet, and I'm like, I'm gonna take the piss out of him.
Yeah.
So he like next to me, and I'm like, hey dude, don't take my line, dude.
Yeah.
Get in the line, man, like everyone else. And everyone's looking at me like, oh, you saying that Seth Morrison? And then I was like, hey buddy, how's it going? I just I
Oh.
kind of like to do that with someone like that, and he got a bit shy, but you know, it's like he's a good dude. The little I know of him,
Yeah.
I don't think he likes to speak like this in public so
No.
much, and you know, and sometimes I'm respecting that too if someone doesn't want to, and
Yeah.
it's so long as they're humble about it and not like an idiot, that's not cool. But
Yeah.
I think that guy is just very shy, but extremely good skier though.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I want to like crack that egg open, so to speak, a little bit more, and he won't do it with
Yeah, that'd
anybody.
be
So I'm
fun.
like, he hasn't even answered anybody. So I'm like, okay, he answered me. I feel very on like, cause I've talked to all the other, I'm like, this is a big win. I got an answer. If I keep just fucking making memes of this guy and like picking on this, like, it just like, dude, he's either going to block me or, or he'll do it. So I think as long as I'm getting reaction, I'm happy. So, he's the only one that I've asked twice actually to be on the show. It's really, it's interesting, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to let you get out of here. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I really appreciate it. This has been great. And obviously, like, where can people find you on the internet? Where can people find you? Where can people find the Vans? Where can people find you on social media that you're only checking Monday through Thursday or whatever? Give people the bit, kind of.
Yeah, if they want to see what we're doing, it's the van business is this.
There you go. Salin
It's
Adventure
my
Vans.
last name, Adventure Vans, and it's on Instagram and website and Facebook. And then it's if they want to see what I personally do and my work in the filming world, it's my name. It's Bjarne Salen, so they can just search on that on Instagram or Facebook, and then can they reach out if they have any questions about filming, etc. But sometimes I can't respond, but I do my best.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you once again.